Hi,
Hi,
how are you
Yes,
how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So could you introduce yourself briefly?
Hi, my name is Sri. Sri Koneru. I am an engineering director at Google by the day, and I'm a mom to a 14-year-old and a big sports fan.
Yeah. Okay, so could you tell us about your current role, like what you do on a day-to-day basis, what it means to be a director and all
hmm
that?
Yeah. So, as an engineering director at Google, I run an organization that provides a data platform for um, fleet insights, is what we call it. It's about all of the infrastructure, the compute, storage, and network infrastructure that powers Google's like ads, search, YouTube, cloud, etc. How well they're doing, how efficient they are, how much is it costing for Google, how do we plan to do a better job in the future, um, how do we forecast how many new machines we need, how much more computing power we need, etc. And how do we control the infrastructure costs for Google. So that's what my organization does. We provide the data to make those decisions for the executives all the way up until our CFO, Ruth Porat, uses the data that we produce. So that's what I do. I run the engineering organization. It's about hiring, retaining talent, keeping the team motivated, making sure we are making the strategic investments, and growing the team.
That's a lot. So could you talk about something recent you've worked on?
Let me think. Um, well, I guess I can tell you something because the work I do is kind of confidential.
Yeah,
It's
it can be from a long time ago if you want.
yeah. So some of the interesting things that we've done are growing our team in across geographic locations. Like I started a new team in Bangalore, in an entirely different time zone. And the most interesting part of it was that we traveled to India. Me and my boss, we traveled to India in February, started the team, basically presented the idea and started hiring. And the team came on board in March, and they've all been ramping up and producing stuff during this COVID work from home. So not only are they working from home, we have never seen these people in person. We never met any of them. And there's time zones away, and still they're able to produce great work. We actually managed to launch a product um, that we started in March, and we launched it in 6 months, which is a considerable engineering feat given the circumstances we are all in. A brand new product launch.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
incredible. So you said you collect data on like ads and things, right? What are some types of things you collect, like number of clicks, number of views of that ad,
hmm
like
Um,
how is it used?
yeah, so we collect mostly about the efficiency, like how much computing power is needed, what's the storage needs, who's using where, and is there wastage in the fleet? Like, are there machines that's been deployed but are not being used? So that's the kind of data that we collect.
Okay.
We don't collect the data for clicks and other things. There are other systems that collect it, but we are trying to put together that information along with the efficiencies we are seeing so we can actually figure out how to make the fleet better.
Okay, so could you talk about how you got to where you are today? You can include like your education and like previous jobs and all that.
Okay. Um, yeah, so I did my undergrad in REC Warangal, which is now called the National Institute of Technology in India. I did my engineering there, and then I came to the US for my master's. I studied at Ball State University in Indiana for my master's. After my master's, I moved to the Bay Area because I met my husband, and he was already settled in the Bay Area. Um, my first job was at a company called Mercury Interactive, which has been acquired by HP. Then I did enroll there, which is called the applications engineering. More than actually building something from scratch, the role involved debugging quite a bit and understanding an existing stack and fixing issues and building on top of an existing stack. I think for a first job, that did me a lot of favor. Taking a step back, I had to take that role at that time because I graduated in 2001. So with September 11th happening and the stock market crash and the tech industry crash that happened, I had to take a role that came my way. So although I wanted a really software developer role, I had to take on the application engineering role. At that time, I didn't realize what a boon that'll be for my future career. So it always gave me a mindset to think, how do I break things, which means that I will design better software and develop better software from there. So from HP, I moved to Oracle, and then from Oracle, I went to Salesforce, which is where I consider myself um, that's home. Salesforce as my home, where I grew up, pretty much. Everything I learned about technology, launching products, building better software, I've learned in Salesforce. I've had the benefit of really good mentors in the team. I was in the same team for nearly 7.5 years, at which point I felt like I wasn't learning anymore and I didn't want to stagnate. So then that's when I moved to Google about 2.5 years ago. So now I do work for one of the best bosses I've ever had, like actually the best boss that I've ever had right now. Um, there are some challenges which are good. I'm getting what I wanted, learning and growing. So yeah, that's my journey.
Okay, that's cool. What is your favorite thing about your job?
Mm, the challenges that make me think. Um, I love it when I have a challenge that keeps me up at night thinking sometimes. Like, how do I solve a particular problem while I'm cooking, while I'm watching TV? I have a thread going on at the back of my mind. That's one thing that I love. The second thing is the people that I work with. I'd like them to stimulate me, help me perform better, and keep raising my bar. So it's very critical for me to have a peer group that I look up to and I feel that I'm being challenged.
Okay. Who inspires you? Like, it can be someone that only you know or someone that everyone knows. But yeah.
Um, for one, my mom inspires me quite a bit. She only studied until 10th grade, and that too in a village in our mother tongue, in our native language. But she's fought through multiple battles with family, a very conservative family. She made sure the family moved to the city so that me and my brother could get good education. And she's not afraid of anything ever. I mean, she's worried. She worries, but when push comes to shove, I see the strong side of her, where she withstands and she fights back and she gets what she wants. So she
Moms
inspires
are
me
the
quite a bit.
best.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And
so
yeah.
sorry?
Now I was about to say I also get inspired by my husband. Um, he's calm as calm can be, honestly, in any kind of situation. Nothing rattles him. In 20 years since I've known him, I've never seen him get angry. An amazing
Yeah.
trait he has. Yeah. So I draw a lot of inspiration from him as well, on how to stay calm under pressure and still think and deliver the right things.
Okay, so there's a lot of students like me who are interested in jobs in tech but don't know where to start. So what advice would you give them?
Um, hmm, Good question. Very good question.
Yeah.
Uh, so summers, use your time to think outside the box, right? Like job in tech doesn't mean you have to build a distributed system or some software that's serving some business or anything. Look at everyday problems, literally everyday problem, and how would you solve it. Tech is nothing but automating, right? It's if you really squint and see, it's about automating stuff. What would you like to automate and why would you want to do it? So I think once you think of an idea that comes from within yourself, you will be motivated. There are avenues. I don't know what avenues are. I'm sure there are similar avenues even in London for you, but there is this ID Tech camps which encourage kids to think outside the box. There's the code.org, where you can actually take on a project and solve something. You can even think of like, how would you help probably like in the times of COVID, how would you inform people where, say, for example, some groceries are running out, etc. Right? When the pandemic first hit, things were running out of shelves, but there was no way for people to know where some of the essentials were available, and some of those become really a choice of life and death, especially with medicines and stuff. How would you automate that? How would you take the information to people? So some problem like that is really out there, how would you solve it? If before you even write code, if you can think of how would you solve it, and then write your logic, your thought process in English, and then you can learn how to code. Coding is yet another language, so
Yeah.
you can write up an application. So
Logic first.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So just think of like everyday problems that you would like to solve through automation. Mundane tasks, they could be mundane tasks,
Hmm.
right? Like how would you help mom maybe create a schedule automatically for you and your brother? Things
Yeah.
like that, I think, will kind of get you into that. Then I think when you get to higher grades, use your connections, network, parents' connections. We are all here for you. We can all help you find an internship where you can actually come and observe how things are done in an office setting, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think that's it for this
Okay.
interview. Yeah. Thank
Sounds
you
good.
so much for being here.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate it.
No
It was
problem.
really
And
good
when you're
talking to you. Yeah.
same here.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.